Hello everyone, welcome back to 60 Days of DevOps with Vikash series, and today is day 12 of this series. So if you are not aware, we are running a campaign, you can say, of free 60 Days of DevOps course. So you can get started with this. So before getting started with this particular video, I will highly recommend you to go back and watch from day 1 to day 11. So today we are getting started with real-time shell scripting with project scenarios and mind map part 2. All right, or if you don't want to watch particular like from day 1 to 11, you can just go and watch the day 11 video, at least that is the part 1 of this particular video. So this is, as you know, this is a free 60 days of DevOps course, so please do kindly like, comment and subscribe if you want me to do more. So let's have a quick revision of day 11. So we have saw different thing, like what is the difference between what is shell and what is bash. What are the things we are going to cover in the bash scripting: variable, conditional statement, how to read user input, loops, function, how we can pass argument to shell script. We have started with the introduction, like these are the setup command. We have seen how we can execute on a system, and we have seen, I have given you some scenario, right, to perform such operation, right. We have seen the different advantages of writing a shell script, why we are writing the shell script in a file, what is actually a shell script is, what are the different shell we have seen the difference between shell, sh and bash. We have seen different shell implementation as well, like shell and born again shell, and how to write shell scripting using bash syntax. We have seen that as well by writing a. So we have just started with the shell scripting in the day 01 video. That is very very important as for interview perspective. So today we will start with this these things, these topics in the cell bash scripting. So let's get started with the variables first. Let me put the heading. We will see variables. Okay. So why do we need variable? If you are from a programming background, you know, right? It is used to store data. Why? So that you can reference it multiple time, right? Later in the script. So variable is used to store data to reference it multiple time in the same shell script, right? In the same or different later in the scripting. Apart from that, this is similar to general programming. There is nothing or much difference in the general programming like Java and .NET you do. There is no much difference. So like what is a simple example? Why do we need variable? Like you want to set some file name. You want to set some file name. So you will do what? You will wrap up these things into a variable. Okay, and this is what, like suppose abc dot txt. Whenever you want to access this file, you have stored the reference in here into a, so you will try to access by this reference, correct? So basically, how do we write a variable? That we need to understand first, correct? So suppose you have a file, you want to create a file. How you will create a file? File.sh, file.sh. What will be the format of the variable you will declare in the, we will see the lab as well. Just try to understand. First you have to do variable name equals to, there is no space guys, there is no space, and here you have to assign the value, whatever value you want to pass into the variable name. So I will provide you a note here, like there is no, again, there is no spaces around the equals to sign, correct? So now let's go back to the lab, go back to the terminal. Let me clear the terminal. So now let's start with creating a file. As per the name, let's create a var file only. You can name it anything, var.sh. Now we will write the cbang to let the OS know which is the type of shell we are using. I'm using bin/bash. Okay, how to use a variable? Suppose I have a file name that I want to store, that is called config.yml. Suppose this is a Kubernetes kind of file, right? And if you want to reference, suppose I want to see what this file name variable is referring to, I will try to print that. You can write a message here, file name is, just give a dollar, and here you have to put the file name, right? Now once this is done, how we will execute to see the output actually. So let's follow the universal method. First we will check, does it have the permission for execution or not. It doesn't have, right? Like the setup have the executable permission, it doesn't have. How to provide the permission? So just do sudo chmod user, provide user executable permission on which file? This file. Now when you will do ls-l, this is permission has been given. Now what we will do, we will try to execute the file in a universal way, /var.sh. So you can see this is giving you output config.yml. So now you understood, right, how the variable is helpful. This is just a normal use case, so you won't see much difference, but when we will start doing the project, you will understand the complete scenario, like how you have stored the variable, how you have stored the values in a variable, and you are utilizing the variable in letter in the same shell scripting, right? So let's understand this by a simple scenario. Okay, let's go back to the board. There is a scenario 2 using the same variable concept. Okay, so I want to store, this is a question from you, just try to do it first from your side. You have to store the output of a command. You have to store the output of a command in a variable. Okay, so how you can do that? So for that, what you have to do, you have to again create a file, or you can do it in the same way for lab purpose, like this is the normal way we follow, right? Create a file, and in that file what you will do, like suppose this is config files, and here what you will do, let's do ls config.yml, and then what we will do, we will try to echo this config files. So let's try to do it in the terminal. Let's clear the screen first. Let's create a file. Now we will create file 2.sh. Let's try to put the shebang. Now what we will do, we will try to put some config files. These are the config files we have, and we are going to run some command on the Linux, and the output of the command we will store into the config files variable. Earlier we were just assigning some names and value. Now what we are trying to do, we are running some command and we are trying to capture the output of that config.yml. Okay, and then let's try to echo this. Okay, so contents of the config files in config directory. So this is a config directory, guys. You can't list ls. We are listing all the file from a config directory, and let's reference it. How you can reference it? Using dollar config files. All right, let's save and execute. Let's put some permission. Currently it doesn't have permission. Let's put the permission sudo chmod user plus x. If you want to know why I'm putting sudo here, just go and watch the day 10 video, and then the file name file2.sh. Now you will do ls.s. It have the permission. Now do what is the file name file2.sh. So this is the output it has. Okay, so the output, the variables is saying ls cannot access config because there is no such file or directory. Yeah, if you will do ls, you do not have any config directory. That is why this happened. Correct. So we should check, right? We should firstly check either the directory exists or not, right? To handle such kind of error, we have to obviously check either the file exists, then only just try to store the output. Correct. So this is not a correct way. So now we will see the conditional. So if you will scroll up, we will see the conditional statements. So let's get started with this. Now what is the scenario we have? We are going to see, let's understand the topic first. Conditional if else statement in shell. Correct. It is a very useful concept, very useful to use. Mainly file have conditional. Okay, it allows you to alter flow of a program. So how beautifully you can handle the errors, right, using this if else statement, either this or this, like simple application kind of thing. All type of thing you can perform here. Example: execute a command only when a certain condition is true. Like we have seen many in the college days, we have seen many simple program, right? Like suppose if age is greater than 18, then it is eligible for vote. If age is less than 18, then not eligible, right? If age is equals to 18, then it is eligible for vote, greater than or equals to. So such kind of condition you can apply, right? So that is why I told, like, it execute a command only when a certain condition is true. Example, one more example will be: check if config folder exists or not before listing all the directory. If it doesn't, then we can create a file or folder etc. Like we have seen in the previous variable, right? Our command failed because there was no such config directory. Now we will try to do what? We will try to check the existence of the folder, then only we will try to execute our command. So let's create one more file, like if else.sh. Let's try to put the cbang to let the OS know which shell you are using. You are using born again shell. Let's try to write the condition. It start basically it start like this. Let me go back again to tell you something more. So how do we write a if condition? Let's see. To write this, you have to write in a built-in command, like you have under the square bracket there will be one space from both side, and here you are going to write your. So this is the square bracket in close expression. Okay, and it's a kind of shorthand notation, you can say. All right. So what is the how we can use, like, see, if some condition, there is a space, guys. If condition matches, then execute this statement. else if doesn't matches, then execute this statement, and then we have to close this. So this is a reverse of the previous one, right? So now what we are going to do, we are going to the question we are going to do, we will check dot config config folder exist or not, config directory exist or not. If not, then create, then create. So this is what we are going to do. So let's try to implement the same thing in our terminal. So we have the file or not, let's see. We have the ifelse.sh. Now let's get into the file ifelse.sh. Okay, how to check if a directory exists or not? There is a simple command -d. What is the directory name? Config. This is the directory name with spaces. Now what? So this basically will check either the directory exists or not. If it exists, then what you have to do, you have to, let's print some message, reading config directory contents means in the folder there will be certain files, right? Nothing else. And what we will try to do here, we will try to do config, again the same command we ran in the variable, config file equals to dollar. This is how we run a command in a shell script, ls config directory. Here let's try to do what, let's try to read the file, right? Config files. So let's do one thing, let's execute the command first, then we will try to write this. Let's delete from here, let's go up. Here we will do config files equals to dollar ls config, correct. It will list all the files and folder inside the config directory, then it will print. Now it is fine. If it doesn't have, if the directory exists, then only it will execute these two commands. If the directory doesn't exist, then it will go to the else. Then the else, what we will do, we will do what, we will print first message, right? Like config directory didn't found, so creating one, and what is the command to create? Mkdir config. Okay, it will create, and let's try to create some folder also. Touch a inside config, touch b inside config, and now let's close this condition, right? And now we will try to do what, we will try to execute it. So currently we do not have config folder. Let's try to provide it executable permission. So it's sudo chmod provide user executable permission on this file. Now this turned into green and it have the executable permission. Now let's try to execute it, if else. So we got some error, bad interpreter. Okay, let's see if we have done some mistake. So here it should be bin bash. Now let's try to execute it again. So config directory didn't found, yeah, correct. according to the according to the script condition, it is fine, right? this condition will be false because earlier it was not there. So it went here and it has some created some config file. Now let's try to clear the screen first and let's try to do ls. Yeah, now we have the config file, config folder, right? We have the config folder cd. We can go inside the config folder. It is empty. We have two directories a and b. Now I want to do what? I want to move the a and b directory into the config directory. Like see cd a, it is not a directory. Okay, it's not a directory, it's a file, right? Let's edit the if else again. So first thing, let's try to rerun this again and let's see the magic. Reading the config directory contents. So currently it doesn't have any contents, right? So let's try to do what? Let's try to move the files a and b to config. Now do ls. We do not have anything. Now let's try to do again if else. See, reading the config directory contents, it has two files a and b. So this is how you have validated your, this is how you have conditionalized your shell scripting, and this is the better way, right, to execute this thing. So now we will see the basic operation, like whatever we saw previously, that was file condition, correct? So there are many file condition you will get. If you will do a little Google, you will know. Let me show you. See, hyphen b to check if file is a block special file. Hyphen c, it checks the character special file. Hyphen d, it checks file is a directory or not, if yes. So like this you have many file test operators. Using that you can perform and write your shell script to understand this in a better way, correct? Like suppose from a simple example, hyphen f and hyphen d, whatever we saw, that are very useful. Like it checks if the file is an ordinary file, right? It check if the file exists or not. In case of hyphen d, it checks it is a directory or not. In the same way, it hyphen f checks the certain name we are passing, that is a file or not. You can check this thing as well, either the file have read write and execute permission or not. Suppose in some of the cases you do not know, like suppose why this command are very useful. Suppose when you don't know exactly the environment on which you are working, environment in the sense you will get some kind of EC2 instance, right? So and there you have to execute some shell script. So for example, you may need to check if a file is existing or not, if a file is empty or not, if a directory is existing or not, that directory is containing some file or not. So in that way, there will be so many things, checks and balances you have to follow, correct? So that is why these are very important.